Hello, everybody, and welcome to the lab. I'm Kel, and we're here with Cody. Today, we have a topic that I think people will enjoy: the top mistakes that we learned in our first 5 years of lifting, and so you don't have to make them. So I think that'll be a good talk. But before that, how are you doing today, Cody?
Pretty good. Settling into the new place. It's been good. I think just a change in environment is always nice after a good like I was at my old place for 4 years, and so it just kind of gets stale. Like change is hard, but also sometimes just needed. And so it's been good. I really like our location where we're at. It's a little farther from the gym, but closer to everything else. But we're like in a community that has like families. So it just feels a lot more family oriented, where previously it felt like it was more for like, there's a lot of older folks, there's like senior citizens.
The retirement home.
Yeah, so much so that this is kind of morbid. I'm sorry. But there was the apartment next to Des. She was in like a duplex. And about I'd say a year before she moved in, some lady died in there, and they didn't find out or find her body until a month later. So
Oh.
the poor maintenance guy, shout out to Raul, but he found her body, and they were cleaning that place forever, like airing it out, just like, oof, I can't even imagine. And Des and I were joking how there were so many flies that year, and after that, we did not have a fly problem, and so I was like, that's fucking disgusting.
That is so gross. Oh
So
my
yeah,
god.
sorry for that tangent. Um, but yeah, it's good to be where we're at currently.
I'm
So
glad you're liking it. Are you unpacked? Have you been? Are you how are you doing on that journey?
so mostly except for the office, I still haven't put together. I was waiting. Yeah, so I got this like futon that you can hardly see in the back. So I was waiting for that to come in because I didn't know where I was going to put things. So now that that's
Mhm.
here, I can set the rest of everything up, and actually have an organized office and not just have like boxes and shit set up. But yeah, it's been good. I love that I have an actual office. That's like the main thing. Like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, what's new with you?
Not a ton. It's been really busy this week. I was I'm in a like kind of a program to in a forestry program right now. Just kind of learning a lot about land work and stuff like that. Last 2 days we planted 700 trees. Um,
Wow.
so I'm pretty sore from that. It was also my first week of full week of lifting, so that's been really fun getting back in the gym. Um, and Maddie's been out of town all weekend, so it's just
Oh.
been me and a bunch of dogs. So it's been kind of fun, kind of relaxing nights after a lot of work in the daytime,
Yeah,
essentially.
not too bad, sounds like. So you're enjoying kind of being in the outdoors a little bit more. How do you feel that's been like mental health wise? Do you feel like it's been an improvement, or do you feel more busy
Oh
and kind of
yeah,
tired?
I think it's been a real improvement overall. I'm having so much fun doing what I'm doing and learning so much. I really like the idea of new challenges and stuff, and this one's kind of fun just because it's so different. Essentially, I'm also learning a lot about how to take care of like the place that I live, which is kind of cool. Um, so yeah, it's all really applicable, and I'm outside and soaking up that vitamin D. So that's been
Yeah.
nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's always helpful. So very cool.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it won't be
Yeah.
too awful in the summer when it's like hot, but Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a shorter program, so like that I'm doing, so it's like a contract. So it
Okay.
ends technically in June, and then I think I'm gonna take some of the summer off and then start it back up hopefully in September. But we'll see.
Smart. That'll help.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't
We'll
do
see. Yeah.
summers.
Yeah, I'm like, well, the summer's kind of busy. I would rather do it at my house. We're hoping to
Yeah.
plant a pretty big garden this year, so
Oh, that's
um
cool.
that'll be fun. I saw you guys have a community garden. Are you gonna plant anything?
I do, yeah. Planning on getting a little plot. So you have to like, I mean, it's free, but you have to
Hmm.
request like, an open space before you can do that. So we're gonna try to see if we can grow like some zucchini and maybe some tomatoes. Start there and see if we kill it, and then we'll see if we venture out anymore. They're not like huge spaces, but it's enough to, grow a few things. So we'll try. Yeah.
At least experiment a little bit. It does. It's usually pretty low barrier entry to start a couple things.
Yeah, and like, who knows with the tariffs, you might need to get some locally grown veggies that didn't cost as much because I'm sure, tomatoes, if I'm getting them from Mexico, etc., like it could be pricey.
Could get dicey, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but
But
yeah.
well, talking kind of about the politics and the tariffs, let's make our little transition into our current events section. Um, I know I've been following it pretty closely, the Signal chat mishap. Have you also been following that one?
Oh yeah. 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 What are your thoughts on it so far?
It's so crazy. Well, to be completely honest, my first the first time I saw it, I'm like, I literally asked Maddie. I was like, "Wait, the government on Signal? Signal is the app I only use to contact my weed dealer. Like, what?" I'm like, that's all I've ever known it for was like
Yeah.
things that you don't want other people to know.
Illegal things.
Illegal thing, which I guess makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
these crazy people. Should we catch people up if they haven't heard about it?
yeah. It's probably a good idea.
Okay, so I have a little article pulled up. So it's 17 of government different government officials were part of this Signal group chat, and they had accidentally invited in a journalist from the. Do you know what it was?
Atlantic. Yeah,
The
the Atlantic.
Atlantic. Um,
Jeffrey
he did.
Goldberg, to be exact. I think. Yeah.
Yes, Jeffrey Goldberg. So he was dropped into this group chat, and he didn't immediately. He thought it was spam, is what I heard. I listened to a daily episode about it. He thought it was spam initially, and just like kind of waited it out to see what happened. And they ended up talking about military strikes in Yemen, and it was very real.
Oh
And
my
he watched
gosh,
it happen in the news, exactly what they talked about on Signal.
that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, what was your first reaction?
I was just like, yeah, first of all, why the fuck are they using Signal? That's not. That is not for government use.
No.
Second of all, like, how the fuck do you add the wrong person? But that being said, there's definitely ways accidents happen because sometimes it just says the initials of someone, so it could be the same initials as someone you meant to add. Or it's just like a phone number or something, or I guess it's not that hard to add the wrong person.
Right.
But the fact is that they did it on Signal to begin with. And I heard I think someone said like they're using Signal so that the government wouldn't see what or like the deep state, like um and basically just kind of doing what they need to do unchecked, right? So there's no oversee. But yeah, and then the biggest thing the most mind blowing thing is the fact that they tried to basically say that the journalist was a liar and there was no classified information shared. And so he's like, all right, well, then fuck you guys. I'm releasing the whole thing. I think he redacted a CIA agent that at least like didn't want to, you know,
Right.
put them in danger, and so release like the rest of stuff that, I mean, to me, if that's not classified, I don't know what the fuck is. If that wasn't
Right.
classified, then why wouldn't you be having this chat over like, you know, iMessenger and like right in front of the public, you know? So, for them to say that there was no classified information is just complete bullshit. Um, and then also they just tried to make the journalist seem like he was a liar, uh
Mhm.
and then they tried to blame it on the journalist of like he should go to jail for releasing these things. Like, first of all, well, he held on to it until after the fact. Second of all, he didn't wasn't going to release all of it, but then y'all called him a liar. But also, you know, he's a journalist, so kind of doing his job there. But I think, you know, still kept some national security stuff in mind and redacted, you know, certain names that didn't, you know, shouldn't be public. So I think, considering what happened, he kind of like kept as much to himself to not cause any immediate danger for any Americans and stuff. Uh, but now they're wanting like him to be punished for it. It's like, what about whoever added
Y-
him to the
Yeah,
chat?
you guys were the ones who fucked up and were doing the illegal stuff to start because and it just makes me furious because it's just like the Hillary emails, but they're doing the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just insane to me. It's insane, and a lot of these people, how like they're set up with a method to talk to each other in a legal, official way. Like if they would have just followed the rules from the get go, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been an issue,
No.
and they obviously knew they were doing something kind of wrong because they're using Signal as opposed to something else. So
Obviously. Exactly. Yeah. And it's the fact that they were using Signal to begin with. I think they're not. I think they're trying to just brush over that fact. It was like, oh, it was an accident. Accidents happen. Well, yeah, but it wasn't an accident that you were using Signal to begin with. That was very strategic.
yes,
So,
like you meant to do that, uh, and 17 officials is also a crazy amount of people to like agree to do this wrong thing, in my opinion. And maybe
yeah,
that's naive, but like this isn't a one-on-one or even like a 1 in 5 person group. This is 17 people who were all in Signal knowing that they should not be.
yeah, including the vice president. I don't know if you read
Yes.
through it all, and there's like JD Vance. Like, I mean,
Mm,
it's funny when you read what he's saying on there. He was basically like, guys, we should wait on this because this is very confusing to people. And it's just like, yeah, no fucking shit. You're all
yes.
preaching peace and all this stuff, and then you're dropping bombs like the next
Right.
day. So it's like he's not wrong there, but they still all like decided to do it anyways. Um, but you know, it's just he was in the chat too, and at no point was the vice president like, obviously he
Stop
was,
this.
yeah, he was in on it because it was very casual, like they've been doing it for a long time, you know. So
Mm,
who knows what they who knows what they've been doing.
right. Right. And then I also thought it was not funny. I don't think that's the right word, but in the daily, it was the actual reporter Jeff Goldberg talking, and he was like, they used the emojis, and then about he was talking about all the emojis they used, and I'm like, this is insane that like our top government officials, because these aren't like small name people. These are JD Vance, Mike Waltz, Marco Rubio. These are really big people to
Yeah.
be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have the press secretary like full on gaslighting the public, saying that there was no classified information. And that she said that before they released the whole thing. And so it was like, oh, really? There's literally like every single, like it's outlined. Like there's a
Yes.
timeline, there's the weather condition. They're just, it's like, that's crazy. You are crazy to, if you think we are that dumb, you're crazy. But it's like, no matter what, you know, they may have upset their base for like a tiny split second, but they're really good at flipping it because what they did is they got that side to not trust the media from the get go. And it's like, yeah, of course you should. you know, check a bunch of different sources and take some things with a grain of salt. But because their base is so dead set on the media being false, all they have to do is say like it's just fake news, and they're like, oh yeah, okay. So it's so easy to trick their base, and you know the mental gymnastics that that side has to be doing right now has to be exhausting because yeah, Hillary's emails, you know.
They're like so. This is we were driving up to one of our locations that I was working at last week, and there is still to this day a Hillary for prison sign hanging up, and I just want to like slide an article, like a paper article of the Signal group chat like, through the door. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, seriously, that's funny. Man, and just speaking of that, so that's another thing too. I forgot to mention. Did you see that Bernie and AOC have been doing like a fight the oligarchy tour? I'm not sure if you
Oh no, I don't
saw
think I've
that.
seen that.
Yeah, it's
I'm
kind of
afraid.
cool. They've been they did a few stops and they had some pretty good crowds. It looked pretty cool. Like people are energized and stuff like that. Um, and so I think they're going to continue touring and doing rallies and stuff, which I think, like, as far as the Democratic Party goes, I have no fucking clue who would be a good candidate to run in 2028. I know Newsom is gearing up for it, but I don't fucking think that's a good. He's going to run, but like
No, thank you.
California, most people, even like people on the left, don't like him. Let's be real. Um, Second of all, uh, yeah, Newsom. I just people like hate California. California is it has not been in its greatest of eras with like the homelessness and just poverty. It's kind of a mess right now. So everyone sees that and they're like, oh, so you want to make our whole country that way? And it's just like, yeah, Newsom's not going to do it, and no one's excited about another just rich white dude, right? He doesn't have a lot of depth to him. There isn't a lot of passion. Nothing about Gavin Newsom says, yes, you care about your people.
No,
It's like he cares about his
no.
hair. That's about it. Oh. So,
Yeah, I don't. I think the Democratic Party is also a fucking shit show. For the record, it doesn't really seem like there's any clear leaders doing much. I mean, I think from what I've heard, um, grassroots fighting, or like people are taking things seriously. Um, but I don't know about Washington. People
yeah.
taking things seriously.
And I think, the Bernie AOC thing has been really interesting to watch. But the problem is it's kind of a dead end because it's like, well, AOC does not have like, she's so young. Like, I think she just became old enough to run, but like, she's so young. Uh,
Well, and
and
no one would
then,
vote. I don't think
no,
she could win. People
no,
really hate her.
yeah. Unfortunately,
Some
yeah.
people, I really like her
No,
personally,
say,
but
yeah. And then Bernie, and they're like saying maybe Bernie can run in 2001, like he's so old. Like,
he's 100 years old. He cannot run.
uh, I mean, he looks 100 years old. I think he's only a couple years older than Trump or something, but um, he's great. And those two together, you can still see that they actually have passion. I mean, that's the thing. It's like they have this energy that is missing elsewhere, but at the same time, they're also very hated because they're like very, liberal and you know people don't want any more wokeness, blah blah blah. But they are the ones who have stepped up to lead in this time. So it's just kind
Absolutely.
of like then but neither of them can really run. I mean, there's the prospect that maybe Bernie could, but then you run into the same situation of like that's a max 4 years and questionable since we already just had Biden, who is very old, run, and that was a mess, and that's why we're at now. It would almost have been better if Trump had won the election in 2020, because then we'd be over. I mean, it'd be over with and he'd still have some of the things in place that he had in place in 2016, where there was more people to kind of put the brakes on him. But since it's everything he does now is retaliation. So it's almost like if he would have won, maybe we could have skipped the retaliation aspects of things, you know? It was just like the 4 years that he was not in office was just anger brewing in his base and brewing in him. So when he got in office, he was like, I'm gonna fuck shit up. And that's where things are chaotic and crazy. But yeah, we could have been coming to an end and people maybe would have been tired of his shit and we could have elected, someone else outside of Biden that could have lasted 8 years. I don't know. Um, I question, if Bernie had ran instead of Hillary, what place would be in currently? I don't know, but it's just there's zero hope. I know that there's uh maybe Pete Buttigieg. I can't say his fucking last name.
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. He should change his last name. Uh, and then Newsom. Those are the only two that like come to mind. But I don't think Pete would win. He's gay, unfortunately. Nothing. That's not my. It's just I'm not gonna vote for him. He's gay. That would be hypocritical for sure. But I'm just talking about America in general. Like they're still very homophobic and so I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
Fuck if I know. I'm gonna stop trying to guess what's gonna happen in politics. I think I'm gonna say things that I hope happen and just try to keep it there. But because I've been wrong a lot recently, so I'm just trying to make it through the next couple. Like I don't know if I've thought too much about the next presidential campaign.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do hope something changes. And I agree that we need some kind of different direction, not another old white guy. Hopefully.
Yeah. It's like I do like that they're campaigning again. Like their campaign is fight the oligarchy because I feel like that's nonpartisan. We all want to fight,
Agree.
the rich people being in charge of our lives and everything, and we're just stuck struggling. So
Hmm.
at least they're not naming it like fight Trump, because like that's divisive,
Right.
right? So if it's like fight the oligarchy, I think everyone can like get on board with that to a certain degree. This, even though they won't because of the people doing it, but whatever, they can fuck off. Like, let's try to like fight what benefits everybody. How about that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, because fuck rich people. So.
Fuck uber rich people that just hoard their money even though people are starving.
Yep, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. What was the other thing that we
I
were? Oh,
completely forgot
Greenland.
now.
Sorry, I took
Greenland.
us on a
Oh yes.
tangent. So yeah, Trump's still very adamant about acquiring
Yeah. Do
Greenland.
you want to fill in the folks on what's going on with Greenland right now?
Yeah, so essentially, from the beginning, Trump has been talking about acquiring Greenland, which sounds crazy. I mean, I think, finally stopped trying to acquire Canada. Uh, but he still wants Greenland, and he's pretty serious about
After
it.
we lost, it's because we lost the hockey game.
Yeah. So I looked up, why the hell, Trump might want Greenland. And in summary, basically, the United States acquiring Greenland would be for strategic and economic reasons. So um, basically, for national security and resource potential as key motivations. So Greenland's strategic location in the Arctic makes it valuable for military purposes, particularly for monitoring and defense in the North Atlantic and Arctic regions, where Russia and China have shown increasing interest. So the U.S. already has a presence there. So with Fuel Air Force Base, so control of the island could enhance American geopolitical influence. And then there's also Greenland is rich in natural resources like rare earth minerals, oil, gas, and fisheries. So, that could help with the economy as well.
Mhm.
And as we know, we were trying to make a deal with Ukraine regarding rare earth minerals, and that didn't quite
Jesus Christ.
work out. So maybe he's like, let's acquire Greenland then, So yeah, they're basically trying to get Greenland to become part of the US. And he's saying he's not afraid to use military force if necessary. And because of that, I saw something about how they're bringing in troops or something to for defense, and somewhere said that if we took like military action against them, that would force NATO to go against the U.S. I'm just like,
Hmm.
the fuck? Okay, what are we doing? That's not good.
No, and it's also insane because we're doing so much other stuff with the military. Like the trans ban is like has everybody super fucking confused right now. I have a couple clients who are affected by it, which is been a nightmare for them.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
and I think with all of that going on, as well as like threatening all these countries, I feel like the military folks just really have to be sweating right now.
Yeah, yeah. And I saw. Luckily, there was a judge that you know knocked down the trans ban, at least
Mhm.
for now. So that is good. I know they're not happy about the judge. They're never happy with any judge that rules against whatever they want to do. But that's called checks and balances, folks. But um, it really, like I don't understand why it's just pure bigotry. Because if they're in the military, they've obviously passed tests to be where they're at. They have proven themselves capable. So why would you kick out current members? Like it's one thing to prevent potential members from signing up, but it's another to kick out perfectly capable soldiers from the military. It's
Right.
stupid. It makes no sense.
It's incredibly stupid, and especially when I believe military like enlistment is pretty low in comparison to where it has been, and so to think about even shortening it or tightening the number of folks in there now is just it just doesn't make any sense. It's
No,
not logical.
no. And I mean, it's probably because we're just waiting for the next war to break out. So people are more cautious to join. But it almost reminds me of back in the day, like 2008, where the economy was shit. Um, I think, the Bush era, the economy was so bad, and into the beginning of the Obama era, like just as he got elected and was trying to fix the economy. But the economy was so bad, um, people were joining the military because they couldn't find jobs. And so it was like finally
Mhm.
at a point where they're actually turning people away from joining the military, and they're being a lot more selective. And I'm like, are you guys crashing the economy to like get more people to sign up? Like, is this what we're doing? Possibly.
I have seen stuff like that, like between the economy and like the lack of jobs, and then all this nonprofit funding and research funding drying up, and it's just like, are we trying to just forcefully make people poorer so we're more dependent, and then therefore have even less power
Right.
to do anything to fight against? It's
Possibly.
very much what it seems like.
Yeah. And then we have to also think about, I don't, we need to plan ahead as a society, as a country, what we're going to do when AI does take over so many jobs. It's already happening, and AI is only going to improve. So we don't know down the road, like what jobs are going to become obsolete anymore. It happens. There's been many jobs in the past that are not jobs anymore. And it's going, as we evolve, that's going to continue to happen. So it's like, what do we do when AI is performing most of, everyday 9 to 5 jobs, and then those people don't have anywhere to go? So what do we do? I know universal basic income is a possibility or something that has been discussed, but not by the Republicans by any means. Um, but
I have
yeah,
a really hard time believing that we'll ever get that. We haven't even raised the minimum wage in how many years? Like, come on, there's no way they're going
no,
to give us a minimum income. I don't think.
no,
I don't
but
know. I've been sorry. Go ahead.
I was just like, they're gonna have to do something at some point, because if
Yeah, they're
people
gonna
don't
have to
have,
have bread lines again. Like, I don't know.
yeah, but it's like if consumers don't have money to spend, even places like Amazon are going to suffer. Because, yeah, cool, AI can like fill your order and drop your shit off at your house with a drone. But who's going to be buying shit if they don't have jobs or don't have money? So yeah, they're going to have to do something. I don't know what, but it's just like all of those jobs that are being filled by AI, people aren't there's not like an hourly wage going to AI.
No.
So they should do something with that money, you know.
That they should. That they should.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
this turned so sad, so scary.
Uh,
Hopefully, we're not giving our audience super anxiety. Um,
um, so
it's
last
gonna be
last
okay, friends. It's gonna be
yeah,
okay. We'll make
last
it through.
tangent, I promise. So speaking of AI, have you ever read about like simulation theory and that sort of thing?
Is that like the Matrix theory?
Kind of, yeah, but like real life.
No, no,
All
I
right.
haven't read about it in real life, other than
There's
like hearing the jokes.
there's a documentary. I think it's on one of the streaming services. I think it's called A Glitch in the Matrix, and it's it's crazy. It's kind of interesting though. Um, just if you want something to think about and think about how funny it could be. So doesn't I always joke when we're like having a bad day or something happens and be like, whoever's like my simulator fucking hates me. It's just like whoever is controlling my life right now. Can you stop?
Yes, I've heard those jokes. They're pretty funny, and that's
Mhm.
why I only want to become off grid. And that's why I am determined, determined to grow my own food and become sufficient on our plot of 6 acres.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's like it makes me laugh though, just thinking about how like maybe we're just a game of Sims and there's just some person just using us like a video game. Just like, yeah, okay, that's funny. I used to love that game, but I feel bad
They're
now.
taking the ladders out of all the pools.
Yeah, making us like shit our pants, go
Yes.
hungry. But anyway,
Ugh.
sorry. Uh, if anyone wants a mind trip and something to ponder, watch that documentary.
Well, let's give some people something to be excited about, and we'll
Yes.
talk about all of our mistakes and where we went wrong, so you don't have to.
Yes, it's
Look at
a
that
little
segue.
still a little sad, but not like super sad because at least we're not making those mistakes still for the most
Absolutely.
part.
All right,
So yeah.
let's get into it.
All right.
So, what was your first mistake? Where did the downfall start?
Um, I think my number one thing that I like that I wish I knew when I was starting my fitness journey uh, was that like I didn't have to work out every day in order to make progress or like not feel anxiety any day that I didn't work out or couldn't or something. But like, yeah, I was so intense that I thought it had to be something I did every day. Rest days were not like a thing. And I regret that because, yeah, my energy levels sucked. Progress could have been probably much better as well. And it was just unnecessary. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that is always the thing I fall back on and like, oof, damn, I wish I knew better. How about you?
I This is kind of more of a mindset thing. I used to be really bad about guilt and guilt tripping, especially, and like shame and using shame um, a lot. And I think it delayed my progress for a long time just because I would go into these shame cycles, and which always ended up into falling completely off the wagon for a while and then getting back on it again. So it was a very much one step forward, two steps back all the time. So I would be really good all week and reward myself on Friday. Friday would turn into an entire weekend of going insane on food and drink. And then on Sunday, I would be hungover and shaming myself and freaking out and really getting into my head and being really fucking mean to get all that willpower to starve myself for an entire week again. So I think just that shame as opposed to going into this like, hey, let's just do this one thing at a time, trying to take it slow, not focusing on perfection. I think it was really that shame cycle that I regretted because I really think it did a lot of damage to my ability to think small.
No, yeah, I feel you. Probably
Um,
same.
yeah, and I think it's something that to an extent, like that story is not something that's unique by any means. I think a lot of people do that, especially a lot of people our age, just because of how ingrained diet culture is. So,
Yeah, and being
yeah, I think
raised socially,
raised female, yeah,
female, it was huge. I think. I mean, it's hard to say which era was worse. At least we didn't have social media when we were growing up.
exactly.
Oof. But
Right.
we could be worse.
Yes.
So it's like on one hand, our generation got like the shit end of things where it was like skinny was the thing.
Abercrombie and Hollister,
Yep.
double zero jean. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was the thing. And then now at least muscle is a thing, being strong, having a big ass, and it's
Yeah,
gone a
right.
little bit to the other end. Uh
Curvy.
but now you have to look a certain way for social media. And at least we didn't have that pressure. Like we would see like models in magazines or whatever and be like, oh, this is the ideal. But the pressure wasn't just instantaneous, like acutely put on you. Because it's almost like with social media, you are supposed to represent that. And so you felt like you feel like everything you'd have to post, you'd have to be fitting that ideal. At least I know that's how probably I would
Yeah.
be. So I'm just like, man, that is tough for this current generation. I can't imagine having Instagram in high school and having to deal with potential bullying or trolling that happens. Like trolls who troll me now are strangers. I don't have to see them, but thinking about having to do that and like people you go to school with, like, I mean, I still cringe when I post something and think, oh fuck, like there's people from high school that still follow me, I think. Oh well.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we had Facebook and MySpace, but we were all like older by that point, right? And
Yeah.
no one knew what Photoshop was. And you remember how bad Photoshop used to be?
Oh
And
yeah.
like, but now Photoshop is so good, and there's AI, and I can't,
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. But yeah. So I guess we would take the skinny, low-rise jean, but I don't know. It's all. I guess it's a easy way to think about the grass is always greener is not necessarily always true.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think everybody deals with their own unique bullshit, but that shame cycle was something that I really really struggled with for years.
Yeah.
And I guess probably I imagine that we'll all still deal with those scars forever.
Oh yeah.
So
It still happens.
yeah,
Like
so
still
you
fighting
still
that
fall
voice.
into yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's something that we'll always deal with, but I do think I do like that people at least don't seem to be at harping on it as much. It's not as often praised, I would say, because
Yeah.
I remember people used to be proud of that shame cycle or proud of that ability or like would tell you to shame yourself, use the shame and stuff like that. So I'm
Yeah.
happy no one doesn't do that as much.
Yeah, just Goggins, right? I think he's still on
Just
the
Goggins.
the old school like shame yourself train. It
Mhm.
works for him. That's the thing you have to remember too. Uh, j- what works for someone like David Goggins
Doesn't work for everybody.
doesn't work for everyone. So just be careful about who you are,
Following.
copying or looking up to, Uh, but on that also, I think pertaining to men on the other side of things, it's almost like also with the birth of social media, body image and stuff has affected men more in present day because now they have a certain ideal that they're being held to. Before it was like whatever. I don't know. It was more in like what you could do and your abilities and stuff like that, maybe sports. and now it's a lot about what their bodies or what physique and all that stuff. Like, I mean, we've probably, I feel the pressure. We're fucking coaches, right? You feel like you need to follow what you preach and
Yeah.
look a certain way, and um, so it's still there, maybe more so than it used to be for men. I don't know what it's like growing up as a dude in this day and age. Um, but I imagine it's probably a little bit more pressure on body image issues, and I know it's becoming more prevalent, like eating disorders within men
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So fun times.
I mean, hell, people talk about how Patrick Mahomes is fat and like he is the best football, like the best quarterback out there, kind of. And it's like, and we're making fun of how he looks, and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, this is weird, but I guess gender equality is here.
Now you get as much shit as women do. You're welcome. That's not what we meant by equality, guys. We
That
didn't
isn't.
mean to
That's not
match
what
it.
we were hoping for.
Like, oh, equality. Okay, we'll just hold everyone to the same awful standards.
Impossible standard.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for that tangent. But I think like top, like number two top things that I also wish was, or that I knew, is that I didn't have to feel like I was dying for the workout to be effective, because I did CrossFit for like 4 years. And when I switched from CrossFit to like bodybuilding style, I felt like I wasn't doing anything. And I was like, I'm definitely going to like lose my muscle and get fat because this is like so slow. And quite the opposite. I was just not as exhausted, but still actually seeing more progress. So that's when it kind of clicked, like, oh, don't have to die.
See, I was when I because we were talking about doing this episode, and I was thinking about saying CrossFit because I'm like, I got my body got so fucked in CrossFit,
Same.
um, but and I still am dealing with those injuries. Oh, still have flare ups from those injuries that I sustained then, and so on one hand, I'm like, yeah, fuck that, but I don't think I would have fallen in love with fitness the way I did if it wasn't for CrossFit. So I am
Yeah, same.
incredibly grateful um, for that reason, which is why I have a hard time saying don't do that. Because the group fitness, I don't think I would have gotten into it if it wasn't for group fitness, because I was such a scaredy cat at the time. I don't think I would have tried something if I couldn't have brought someone with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And coaching wasn't as accessible, I don't think, as it is now.
No. Yeah.
So being able to have any kind of instruction, even if it was shit instruction, is like
It was something.
it made it like accessible, right? Like it was something. I knew at least what a program was. I knew how to show up consistently, and CrossFit did help me find those skills, as well as I do think CrossFit, and to this day, I think CrossFit played a huge role in making it cool for women to be strong,
Totally.
and I will forever be grateful for that. And I got my first pull up in CrossFit, so I can't badmouth it all the way.
No, totally. Like, kind of like the internet, right? Like, there's good parts and bad parts of it.
Yeah,
Same
absolutely.
with CrossFit. Like, it did a lot of good. It
Yeah.
also did a lot of not so good.
Right.
But again, like you, I'm thankful. I wouldn't take it back because it taught me how to push myself.
Right.
Unfortunately, also how to ignore my body, but I learned that eventually. But it also, um, it was a good community when it, like, I needed that community in the time of my life that I was in, and it was really helpful then because I'm super quiet. But it was like I was coming out of religion, and normally your community is like your church community, so it almost went from like church to CrossFit, which both are kind of culty, so it kind of makes
Cult to
sense.
cult. Yeah, that
Yep.
makes sense.
But at least it was like separate from the whole like, oh, God and morality and all that stuff. It was
Yeah.
just like a different type of morality. Like, do you CrossFit?
Cult
Ooh.
light.
Yeah, like, ew, you don't CrossFit? Get away. But also it taught me how to like do certain lifts, because there's no way I probably wouldn't ever attempt squatting for the longest time because I've been too socially anxious. But since I did CrossFit, you squat like every fucking day. So you learn to squat and you learn all the like Olympic lifts, things that you would not learn just going to a regular gym. And although, of course, Olympic lifts are not something I use every day, like ever, but it just is nice to have to know how to do them or had that experience of learning them. Like the snatch, for example, there's no, I would never try, like, I would never have learned it if I didn't do CrossFit. And it was that movement that I loved it because it fucked with your head because you're like, I'm going to drop this on my fucking head. And it's like kind of dangerous, but also impressive, even if it's like not super heavy.
Yeah.
So it's just like little things where it shows you what you're capable of, like pushing yourself to the point where you're like, I didn't think I could do that. I thought I was going to die. And then you accomplish things. And I think that is like a huge lesson for people. And so that's why I'm like, I don't knock it, but eventually I think you got to move on from it or else your body's going to break down. It's everyone in your 20s, try it for about a year and then move on. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe not CrossFit exactly. Like, because I like they're also really anti-trans now, and they've gone full political, and it's craziness now. So I wouldn't necessarily try that, but maybe Orange Theory.
Yeah, CrossFit is dying right now. Anyways, I think
Right.
I don't know if you saw due to the swimmer who, like in the CrossFit, not the swimmer, but the last year's CrossFit Games, the guy drowned during the
Yeah.
event, and just no one paid it. Like no one helped him, and it was very
No.
obvious that he was struggling, and they just let him drown. So there's been some athletes that have sat out and been like, "I'm not competing this year," and like it is due to that because they're like athlete safety needs to be priority and we don't feel like they're prioritizing it and stuff. So it's been interesting to kind of see the downfall of CrossFit. I know there's something else that popped up that's similar that some of them are switching to. Do you remember the name of it? I can't.
Is it that frog fit thing? Maybe I don't know.
No, I can't
I don't know
remember.
what people are switching into
Yeah,
nowadays.
CrossFit
But
2.0.
yeah, I kind of lost touch with it after, especially after well, after I got hurt. I kind of am like fuck it. So, but
Yeah, yeah,
I followed it for like tangentially for a long time. But yeah.
yeah,
um, I think another thing I would. If we wanted to move on to the next mistake
yeah.
I made was not focusing on food right away. Or not necessarily right away. For a long time, my concept or my way of doing things was just to work out so I could eat and drink whatever I wanted, and I thought that was going to work for a long time, and it did not. um, and things like you can't get your the body you want just by handling one side of things. It has to be food and nutrition and fitness. All of it is linked up, and to think that you can get healthier by only doing one thing for your body is insane. And the fact that I was thinking that was delusional. But I thought that for a long time. I'm like, well, I'm lifting enough, it should be fine.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good one. Um, so another one I think for me is I mean, probably the importance of protein. So that kind of falls into the food side of things with you. Like I was a vegetarian for a good 5 years, but I was also a runner, so it kind of suited me. Or it wasn't the it didn't kill me for not having enough protein because I wasn't lifting. It was like running, be as light as you can possibly be without passing out, and run as fast as you can. So that was running. But then switching over to like CrossFit, I definitely did not get as strong or make as much progress as I probably should have in like the first year because I just wasn't paying attention to protein. So finally, um, you know, I'm really competitive. So I think that's also kind of a blessing of CrossFit. It can kind of pull you out of disordered eating a little bit because when you get competitive, then you start focusing on performance. You start focusing on performance, you care less about your aesthetic. Not to say that my aesthetics are awful because I, it's just like it, focus on your performance and the
Yeah.
rest usually follows. So when I started finally actually like logging my protein and paying attention to macros, that's when I saw like the most difference in progress and performance and just overall health. So same with the nutrition.
Yeah. Um, Drinking probably is something that I
Good one.
would
Yeah.
say I should have gave up, but didn't. I I know this is really controversial, and I never tell people that they have to stop drinking to get their results. But I was had a very problematic relationship with alcohol, and I did personally did not have the ability to stop at one. I was a get drunk or not drink person, and which isn't everybody, but for me to make progress, I kind of had to cut it out completely, just because I didn't have a good relationship with it. I didn't have the ability to what's it called to cut
Moderate.
down. I moderate. Jesus, I don't know why I can't think of it. I didn't have the ability to moderate, so I couldn't be trusted essentially. So I had to get rid of it. I reg- Drinking was never a good thing for me. It was never something that like good things happen when I drank. So I don't think it was something I would say I miss. I miss drinking, having a drink every once in a while, but that's what mocktails are for, and in a beer. So I'm fine now.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, it's funny, believe it or not, like I drank the most when I did CrossFit.
Yeah,
Because
that doesn't surprise me at all. Just
that was
knowing
the
how CrossFit is.
community. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like that's the
craft
weird
beer.
part. Exactly. They had a fucking keg in the box.
Yeah,
So and it
so did
was
mine.
pretty common. It was like how what? Okay. Anyways. So but same with alcohol. I didn't like drink for a long amount of time, but I know when I did CrossFit, that's when I drank the most. And I never had a time where I was like, I'm so glad I did that. Like, I'm so glad I drank. Like, I never have once been happy about it. It's more like, what the fuck? I feel like shit. Like, I'm not going to do that
Yeah.
again. Um, but now, I think it's more acceptable these days because we're learning more and more just how much impact alcohol has not just on your physique, but like mentally, physically. It's literally poison. That's why it makes you drunk. And do I miss the feeling? Sure. I think that's why we drink ultimately, right? Like it doesn't taste great. No one started drinking alcohol for the taste. But like, of course, you start to, you miss the feeling, but then it almost, you grew up a little and you realize you drink because you were trying to perform or something for other people that you didn't even know very well. So now I'm like, I have a very limited group of friends, but I don't have to drink to be around them. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if I have any other good ones that I can think of. Do you have one?
um how much stress affects my performance
Well,
and progress. I didn't know at the time, but I think I started to notice more because I used to work a job where I started at 5:30 in the morning, but it was a bit of a commute, so I had to wake up at like 4 and then go to work, start at 5:30, and I'd get off at 2, and then I would go straight to the gym from there. And I did that for years. And then when I quit my job to coach full time, I started seeing the difference in like progress, performance, and stuff like that, just from not having the stress of getting to work on time or like feeling like I wasn't going to be able to fall asleep or I was going to sleep through my alarm or just having such a physical job and all the other stressors of financial stress on top of it and everything. Um, and then post working for myself, it has its own stressors, but it's like all of that stress built up. I didn't realize how exhausted I felt until after the fact. So now I can pinpoint it a little bit better. But there's a lot of times where I beat myself up. I just be like, what is wrong with me? Come on, like push yourself. Why are you so tired? Kind of thing. It's like, oh, because I was an asshole going to sleep at like 10, 11, getting up at 4 and wondering why the fuck I couldn't perform at my best. Uh, so stress being an umbrella term for like not sleeping and, all the things that add to stress. But even if I've been anxious, so, like moving, when we were moving and stuff, of course it's stressful. And then the next day I felt wrecked, like completely wrecked, got hit by a train. So it's like stress can be draining in that aspect. So you kind of have to pay attention, like be kind to yourself if you had a really stressful day before. If you're hitting a workout, know that you might feel a little depleted and just do what you can, essentially.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's a great one. Stress has played such a huge role
Yeah.
in everything we do. And that, I think the other thing that people don't like, I think people don't see when it's happening, but like when your job is so stressful and it's just stress after stress after stress, is that necessarily like a good thing? Like, because I've talked to a lot of people who stress is just the name of the game at their job and they don't have any way to make it better. So
Yeah.
just letting that run wild it's going to make things hard and make things is going to cost your health eventually.
Yeah.
So understanding that is paramount, and I think people get caught in those golden handcuffs sometimes, even if you're not getting paid well. You
Yeah.
get, it's just the steadiness of the income, I think, and the
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah. I mean, some of the lowest paying jobs are the most stressful, ironically. Uh, but it's just, and if you don't have, like, we're not saying, hey, quit your stressful job. It's like if you don't have the option of quitting a stressful job, it's like, okay, finding ways to cope a little bit more outside of work,
Absolutely.
and maybe working with a therapist to help you with those situations specifically, especially if you know that nothing's going to change there for a very long time. So that means you just have to change what you are doing, in order not to lose your mind somehow.
Yes. Absolutely, and your health, because it does. It affects your immune system. It affects your mental health. It affects everything.
It
Um,
does. Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Um, did you have any other mistakes that you wanted to discuss?
um I think the other one that I think I didn't quite hit 5 because I just put it all into, like, I was like, how important rest was. I'm like, well, I already kind of said that. um let's see. Yeah, I think I hit everything that I specifically remember. I just wish I knew, or it's like almost like I knew, but I just didn't know how to make myself do it. I like
Yeah, I feel like
certainly.
I feel like I knew, but then I'm like, that's opinion,
Right.
or like, or I'm different,
Yeah, I'm a
or
machine.
that's just what they say, and
Right.
it's just like, no, it's not, and I feel like um anymore, and I don't think necessarily with people who listen to us, but I think people struggle with experts. Like people don't believe that experts exist anymore. And that's an issue in the general world, I think,
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think there's just so much
everybody thinks that they're
conflicting.
gonna find that shortcut, and
Yeah.
I don't think those shortcuts necessarily exist. So
Yeah. And I think too, we probably started our fitness journeys in a place of maybe self-hate versus love. Uh,
absolutely.
so maybe that's one thing I wish that yeah, I knew, a mistake that I
Oh,
made.
that's a good idea.
It's like, I do wish I would have started my fitness journey in a place where, like, I was, in a place of body love. Yeah, like, just, I want to take care of myself. I want to be healthy. It's like it kind of was there, but it was it was just a disguise for like a disorder. Like
Yeah, it was
I
framed
don't like my
differently.
yeah, because it was just like, oh, like I don't like my curves. I don't want to look female, so I'm gonna just try to drop the curves by any means possible. And so like when that is your focus, fitness runs your life because it just becomes this disorder. And then it's not supplementing your life. It is not, making your life better. It's just draining the fuck out of you because you're stuck in this cycle of what you have to do in order to fit this ideal, or your brain just wants to play tricks on you. But luckily, post transition, like that all just kind of melted away. So yeah, fun times.
Well, let's. What power talk do you got for us? Bring it back. End it on a
Yeah.
high note, Cody. Let's go.
All right. So the quote I have for today. So discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. And that was by Abraham Lincoln, which I always kind of laugh at that because I can't imagine like Abraham Lincoln saying that. Is that weird?
With this top hat
Uh,
on? No.
yeah. I'm like, was he really like, he didn't work out or anything, I don't think. So how did he just like come up with that? But yeah, so I like that one because it's very true. Because if you think about, we're so used to instant gratification these days. We want to do what benefits us in the moment. But when you do that, it often sabotages what you are trying to reach, your goals. So if you're like craving something delicious and you're just like, I just want it right now, but you're not thinking about how much you want, or how much you wanted, whatever goal you set, and you're just like, fuck that, I want something that's gonna make me feel good in the moment. But then in turn you're kind of sacrificing your long-term goals. So that's why it's like choosing between what you want right now and what you want most. What's gonna last the longest? What is it that you've got your eyes on, your heart set out for? Was it really that, you really had your heart set out for 6 cookies, or uh, did you want to like, look good at the beach in the summer, whatever it is that you're aiming for.
Absolutely. That's a good one. And that quote never, like, it always fires me up.
Yeah, it's a good one. Thanks, Abe Lincoln. I don't know how you came up
Thanks,
with it.
Abe.
Yeah.
He was honest. I don't know.
Oh, I forgot.
All
Honest
right.
Abe.
Honest Abe. Well, until next time, listeners, like and follow and find us on Discord. Yeah, all the things. We're
Yes.
here for you.
Yeah.
And until next time, we'll talk to y'all later.
Peace out.
Bye.